Hello and welcome back to another edition of Saltwater Gaming. I am Ellison Smith. I've always had an issue with Telltale games. Like, I remember the first title that came out, I think it was the first title that came from Telltale, was The Wolf Among Us. And at the time, it only seemed like one of those games that's just interactive cutscenes, or just reaction commands, the game. The artwork was impressive, and from what I could tell, the story was, adequate from some of the articles that I read about it, but I didn't really understand the concept of Telltale games. And then I saw that they would keep getting contracts, like they got Game of Thrones, and they got what's the other one? Walking Dead, and it just seemed like a cash grab. It didn't seem like an actual game. It just seemed like um, a game where you just go and and play guess your fate and just swipe left and swipe right and swipe up and swipe down. And then I found that PlayStation Network is giving the season pass, the entire season pass, for the first season of the Telltale Batman series. So I got it. I didn't have any expectations. I saw Batman, and I loved the Arkham series. It's Asylum and City are probably the two best Batman games that I've ever played, with a little bit of shout out to Origins. I actually did like Origins. And Night was anticlimactic, kind of, if you like stories that you can definitely tell the ending to. If you have any knowledge of the Batman universe and can see things coming a mile away. Thanks for that, Arkham Knight. Took you how long to make a dismal ending? Sorry about that. That's a completely separate rant. Um, so I bought the first season, and there's 5 episodes about with chapters in each episode, so it takes you about an hour per chapter. So maybe a little bit more depending on your choices. And I was very much wrong. I played the first episode, and the way that they do this, and I can understand the attraction now. If you were a nerdy kid like I was, well, like I am still, and these types of things have been out for a while, but Goosebumps, for a good long portion of time, got on the choose your own adventure train. So you would have these horror adventures, or any kind of action, just thrilling adventures, and you would go and pick all of your choices. And it would be like, if you want to check out the basement of the haunted mansion, go to page 22. If you just want to stay and wait for the police to come and investigate the sounds, turn to page 46, and things like that. The Telltale series, and I assume that this is for all of them. If I'm not, leave a comment. Let me know. Let me know how wrong I was. I think that they are a choose your own adventure, but interactive and virtual in video game format. And I'm doing this with Batman. And I figured that out, and it just kind of opened up this whole world for me. At least with these kind of games. I played through the entire first season, and I mean, stayed up late, and would second guess all of my choices, and the cutscenes that they use that you can interact with, that I joked about earlier, are actually very fluid. Now, granted, I am on the console version. I'm on the PlayStation 4. I understand that PC has had a little bit of a frame rate issue with this, so they may have fixed it by now, but they may not have. Just fair warning. But for me, they looked gorgeous. The animation reminds me of the MTV Spider-Man series that was like in the early 2000s. This was after like Spider-Man 1 came out and got huge. Neil Patrick Harris played Peter Parker. For those of you that understand what I'm talking about, congratulations, you have a nostalgia bomb. For anyone else, go and look up MTV Spider-Man, Neil Patrick Harris, Peter Parker. It's great. Good stuff. Animation's great. High quality. But yeah, sorry about that ADD moment. The animation is very fluid. It's the voice acting is really good. Warner Brothers Interactive does some very high quality stuff with this series, and Telltale got their hands on it, and they have just made it look absolutely gorgeous. It flows wonderfully. Gotham looks, dark and abysmal, but at the same time you can tell that there's this layer of hope that the city is going to spring eternal and conquer through whatever challenges are thrown its way or whatever bad guys are put towards it. Bruce Wayne is actually a likable character. Like, I know a lot of people that play the Arkham series are just like, well, you're just playing as Batman. No, the Bruce Wayne moments in this game are probably better than the Batman moments. Like, yeah, the Batman moments are you're Batman and you have all the gadgets and you're punching people and hitting them with roulette tables and all this other kind of stuff. But for pure character-driven narration, the Bruce segments are wonderfully fleshed out. They help bring about this kind of the perfect inner turmoil for Bruce Wayne. The universe and storyline that goes on in the Telltale series is also very different from a lot of the storylines that have popped up in DC Comics over the recent years. For those of you that actually buy comics, and for those of us that actually read them, it's been a little bit wonky. There's been universes collapsing and universes imploding on each other and universes combining, and this is completely separate and it's not as complicated and it's very good. There's a twist involving Batman's parents in the first season that is really heavy, and I do recommend at least checking it out. So the first season for the Telltale Batman series is on PlayStation Network. I think it's on right now, but otherwise you can get it for a great deal and get the second series, Enemy Within, which I'll talk about in a minute, for about $20, maybe a little bit more. It's on. They're doing a bundle right now, and I do recommend that. In the meantime, Mike, our wonderful person from Eventide Entertainment, has some little things to talk about what's coming up this week. So, Mike, tell them what we've got coming up down the pipe, and we will be back with you shortly.
There's a reason they call them lazy Sundays. There's nothing better than sitting around and enjoying the comforts of a good book. But what book should that be? Well, every Sunday, Eventide brings you The Bookseller, hosted by Jessica Gillen. Each week, Jessica breaks down a different book and tells you everything you need to know before cracking it open and getting lost in a whole new world. Tune in every Sunday for The Bookseller with Jessica Gillen, brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. Nothing brings people together quite like the movies, and every week, Aaron Lopez wants you to join him in a discussion about the latest and greatest in the world of film. So grab a drink, grab some popcorn, and get comfy. Come join Aaron and friends every Thursday at The Drive-In, presented by Eventide Entertainment.
Hey, thanks, Mike. So getting back to Telltale Batman. I played through, the first episode of season 2 today, or series 2, or whatever classification you do. They're technically separate games, but same universe, so I'm just going to call them seasons. So I played through the first episode of season 2 today. And by this point, we're getting a lot of, not in the entirety of Batman's Rogues Gallery, because we have to see if we're going to get a third game out of this. But you have the major people, and you also have, in the first season, Lady Arkham, who is a completely new villain that I know of, just for the Telltale series. So in season 2, it actually tracks what happens in your previous game, like a lot of Telltale series do. I think that's just a Telltale thing, or just a sequel thing. And so all of your actions from the past game come back to haunt you. And now, if you do lose your save data, you can reinstitute a backstory just in case, and you can go and check out the major events of season 1 and pick your choices, and that'll help figure out your way through season 2. But otherwise, if you have a Telltale account, you have to have an account for everything nowadays. If you have a Telltale account, then you'll just import your save, and then you'll be good to go and get on the road and get back to punching people. Season 2, instead of your simplified, this person trusts you, this person doesn't, you actually have an entirely new way to view the working relationship. So every action you take, or any of the huge actions, can have an effect on how the other story characters interact with you. Now, there's some major events where they're gonna work with you regardless, but the dialogue and the way that the story works out is completely different depending on these relationships. For example, I'm not gonna give away anything huge. You have to work with a lovely mustachioed police commissioner versus the head of an agency of sorts who has been a thorn in Batman's past before. And if you've read the comics or you've watched the animated series or the Justice League or basically anything put out by DC Animation, then you know who this person is, or you have a good idea on who this person is. And they return in season 2. So you have to pick between your, buddy not buddy your buddy relationship with Gordon or their backing. So that's very interesting, and you also have to work with another individual who you really did not see yourself working with, which is funny. And it's just, I'm probably gonna boot up the PlayStation after I'm done with this episode and just keep going, just because I enjoy this game so very much. Catwoman is also a thing in this. Selena Kyle is well represented. She is a firecracker, and she is very much independent. And you have some options with her character in season 1, and I assume that she's going to show up in season 2. We'll see. Penguin also is in season 1. I won't tell you the context of his story, but he is probably the most refined out of all of the penguins that we've seen in the past incarnations, which is interesting. And then you have a bunch of other characters that'll pop in, and there's some that I haven't even found out that are showing up. Season 2 is only released, I think, 3 or 4 episodes, and they're still chugging them out. So we'll get those later on, and I'll probably do an overall review of the Telltale series. But in the meantime, season 1 of Batman the Telltale series is for free on PlayStation Network. I hope it's still for free. If not, it's a little bit of money, but it should be on discount at this point. Season 2 is available, called The Enemy Within. I do recommend at least picking up the first season while it's free, and just kind of seeing how you feel about it. If you like the Telltale series and choose your own adventures, this is very much a game. This is very much an experience that I would recommend you take the time out of your day to try. It's something that is completely story and choice driven. It's not flashy. The controls are relatively simple. It's just match the screen with the button presses and all that other kind of stuff. If you like the first season, then the second season is available. The season pass, I think, is $25, which isn't bad. yeah. So, next week's going to be a random episode. I'm still trying to figure out what all we could do. It's probably going to be another Gem from the Past episode, since a lot of our major titles don't release yet, which is delightful. But yeah, be on the lookout for the next week's episode next week. This has been another episode of Saltwater Gaming. I am Ellison Smith. Check out Batman Telltale series. Good recommendation. I will see y'all next week. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Stay safe.